full circle to Dear Slim. What have you reached out to Eminem? Have you heard anything from him or his camp, or if you do, what do you expect is going to happen? What are you going to say? If anything, do you have a plan? Like, what's going on?
No, not really, man. I don't really have any plan, but I haven't reached out to M. Like, I've talked to a couple guys. I'm like not really into saying who I've been talking to or anything like that, because just the nature of what I do, it's just going to open up narratives in their lives that they don't need to have opened up. But you know, I talked to a few people around him and stuff, and I don't know what he thinks about it. I don't know how he feels about it. I hope he likes it. They're going to think, oh, Tom's just trying to get some sort of acknowledgement from Eminem or something. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, like, spend $100,000 to get an Eminem beat. What would you do with that? Are you just gonna like make some random song on it? Like, no, like, this is a special thing. Like, you got to do something special with it. I thought that it was set up for me to do what I did. I thought it was important for me to do what I did. I think that there's this weird stigma in hip hop where it's like, once you're famous, quote unquote, or well known, it's like you're not allowed to be a fan of rap anymore. And like, you're not allowed to be a stan or a mark. It's like, oh, that shit ain't cool. Like, now you're a famous rapper. Like, just be a famous rapper. And to me, it's like, yo, like, we are all rappers because we were such fucking big fans of rappers that we had to do it ourselves. So like, I'm not too cool to be like, yo, this is the guy that like literally inspired me to be a rapper. And like, Eminem is probably the only artist in history who can be in the twilight of his career. Just speaking of, the man's 50 years old, and like, I wouldn't be surprised if he decided to move on to other things. He's probably the only artist ever to be in that stage of his career and still be at the peak of his game. Like, that's unheard of. And because we're talking so late in his career, I think it's important at this point in time, like, give the man his fucking flowers. Like, there's this weird stigma like that's happened in the last, 5, 6, 7 years. Rap's got so much cooler lately, and Eminem's corny, and Eminem's fans are corny. And it's like, man, fucking stop it with that shit. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not too cool to acknowledge that. And everybody thought I was going to diss him. Little did they know I had a big ass bouquet on deck. And, that was important for me as an artist, to make that record. So,
yeah. So other than Eminem and Tupac, was there anybody you'd want to discuss that you said that really inspired you, or that you think deserves more recognition?
Man, coming up, like, I had such a weird musical background, because like, my first physical music purchase, I think, ever was, I had a tape cassette of The Offspring. I had a tape cassette of No Doubt. I had a Marilyn Manson album. Then I had the Tupac record. Then I had M. And my dad was big into classic rock, so he's introducing me to the Led Zeppelins, Pink Floyds, Steppenwolfs, Joe Cockers, Cyndi Laupers of the world, the Beatles, blah, 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 blah. So I was always like, growing up, I wasn't just like a hip hop head. I wasn't just straight rap all day. Like, I had so many different things like floating around, so many different genres and types of music: classic rock, rap, pop music, a little bit of R&B. Like, had all this different stuff. So, and the other kind of like weird thing about me is like, and I've always been this way, is like, even when I was really into pro wrestling, the reason why I referenced Steve Austin 10 times in this interview is because that was my guy. Like, I chose him. That's who represents me most accurately. That's who I'm emotionally invested in. That's my guy. And I almost felt like I was betraying him if I had another favorite wrestler or something, you know? So like I picked Tupac, and then I picked M, and then eventually I evolved into being a massive Lil Wayne and Drake fan. And it's always been kind of those three guys for me. I've been listening to DaBaby a lot lately. I think he's crushing it, mad talented, like super dope. The way that they've done his whole rollout, like I'm sold on it. I love it. So, but yeah, as a kid, like those were my guys. I always picked one guy and then rode hard with that guy for pause. But put on for them really hard, like, you know, while I was a fan or whatever. So I didn't deviate too much into a lot of other rappers and stuff. So those were my guys. That's what I rolled with. And now that I'm an adult, I don't sit around and listen to a lot of music, period. I listen to a little bit when I'm exercising, but I'm working 20-hour days on making my own beats, writing my own songs, shooting my own videos, blah, 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 blah. When I'm done with all that, the last fucking thing I want to do is sit down and listen to somebody else rap. That is just, you know, I want to put on a video game and spend 30 minutes gaming out, and I want to go to bed. That's it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, with wrestling, what made you leave? Why'd you stop pursuing that?
It was a combination of things, man. Like I was a young kid when I started wrestling. Like I was 13 years old when I went to training. My first day, like they were teaching us how to take bumps, which is essentially like jumping up and landing flat on your back on the mat. And, you know, it's left, right, kick out, boom, hit the mat. And I did that for my first time when I was 13. And the trainer was standing there with his arms crossed, and he was just like, holy shit, you're a natural. Like that was perfect. Because I wasn't just watching wrestling, I was studying this shit. Every single time I watched a match, I'm paying attention. How are these guys getting up? How are they falling down? How are they doing this move? Like, how are they working the crowd? Like, what's the science behind this whole thing? So by the time I got into a ring at 13, I pretty much already figured that shit out. Because of that, and being very confident in my abilities, after 1 month of training, I had my first match along with two other guys who had been training for 2 years, which is fucking unheard of. And, you know, they weren't happy about it. And, you know, a lot of guys didn't like me. And, you know, by the time I'm 16, 17 years old, I'm wrestling on a bi-weekly TV show. I'm wrestling on pay-per-view. I'm wrestling on shows with Billy Kidman, Scott Steiner, Rikishi, Scotty 2 Hotty. Like, I'm riding roller coasters and getting shit faced with Buff Bagwell. Like I'm doing the whole thing, and I'm 17 years old, and I'm in matches with guys that are 30, 35. And they're like, oh, hey, like I was thinking about doing this tonight, or maybe we could do that tonight, or blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, nah, we're not doing any of that. Like, this is the way it's going to go. We're going to do this, 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 boom, 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 pinfall, go home. It's over. Because I was so confident and so good at it that I was telling these people twice my age what to do, not realizing, because I'm a kid, that there's a serious politics involved in a wrestling locker room. And there's a tactful way to go about getting your point across and collaborating with somebody else on a match. So I got a reputation as a child, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, for having a real bad attitude, being difficult to work with. Guys were trying to hurt me, and it's just, you know, it's a tough guy sport, man. So like a lot of those guys, 35 years old, they ain't no 16-year-old on the planet that's going to tell them what the fuck to do. So we're getting in the ring and guys are trying to beat me up and trying to hurt me and stuff, which didn't work, I might add. But I got into a fight with a guy one day in front of a bunch of people, and I pulled down my knee pads because I was going to knee him in the head. And I forgot that my knee pads were down, and I jumped off the top rope to do a frog splash. I landed in the middle of the ring with my knee pads and my ankles. I blew out both my knees, crushed all the cartilage in both my knees, and accumulated injuries and shitty decisions, which led to overwhelming politics. It was those two things that kind of forced me out.
Well, that'll do it.
That'll fucking do it.
Be sure to check out The History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
What's that 5 on your TV back with NWA?
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the street. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.